I know efficient government is an oxymoron. We get that. We're here to actually break some myths. And two primary goals I have today. One is to talk about the fact that government is ripe for the tools that TOC has to offer. And the second goal is not to fall off the stage. So we'll see if I can deliver on both of those. Before I get started, I want to have a few people stand up, because as I talk about this journey we've gone through over the last few months, or actually almost a year now, it's certainly not a Christian Cox show. It's a department-wide initiative, and there's been some real key players in this. And so when I speak, it's a lot of people have been involved in this. Greg, Steve, John, stand up. John and Greg are my deputies. Steve's over our operational excellence piece. And I'll talk about the Fox family in a little bit, but it's been a real team effort. So I want to start a little bit just with a personal story and end with a personal story, and then I'll go through and talk about a little bit about what we do, the challenges we faced, how we implemented TOC, and then the results, and what we're going to do next. I preface with all this with saying, you guys are so smart. We've been talking amongst us about how many smart, brilliant people in this room, and it's quite frankly a little intimidating to come in front of a group like this with so much expertise and so much background and history in this field. And we are not just infants, we're like premature babies in this whole body of knowledge. So we're learning much more than I will ever be able to present to you guys in this presentation. So we do appreciate the opportunity and the great honor to be here. Just real quick personal story. I'm obviously blind, right? The cane gives that away. It's not very subtle. And there's a great life lesson I learned, and it really resonated for me in my life, and that's why I think I connected so well with TOC. I had some great mentors as I was becoming blind who were just amazing problem solvers. And when you're blind, you have to be a great problem solver to figure out how to do things, because the world's not fitted to suit my needs. And there was a great mantra they came up with, and it's not if something can be done, but how. And it really resonates all around ideas around the cloud and questioning assumptions that we take for granted every day, and that there's so many times reasons why people say things can't be done, and barriers and assumptions. And that philosophy has penetrated almost everything I've done in my life. And when we started learning about TOC, I'm like, this is it. This is the version of blindness and process improvement. This is great. So we really latched onto it, and I'll walk you through a little bit about this process. So first, let's talk about, where's Henry? Is Henry in the room? He stepped out? He's supposed to, OK, when he comes in, let me know, because I'm going to hold him accountable on something. So we're on title slide. So next slide is, let me tell you a little bit about who we are. We knew there'd be an international crowd here, so we are from Utah. It does exist, as you can see. Small, but it does exist. And best skiing in the world if you're a skier. You should go to Utah. A little bit about who we are. We have 43 offices statewide, about 2,100 employees. Our budget's about $1.6 billion. We serve almost 14% of all Utah citizens touch our agency or go through it. So we're one of the largest agencies in the state. Report directly to the governor. So there's a lot of expectations around our agency. And a lot of pressure on us to deliver services to customers. Let me tell you about how we're divided. We have, again, 90 different programs that we've organized in about 3 different areas. The first one is Workforce Development Division. That's where we help people who have been laid off, dislocated workers, low-income individuals. We help get them retrained and ready to go back and enter the workforce and really meet employers' needs. If employers have jobs to fill, we want to make sure they can grow in this economy and have a skilled workforce. The second one is our Unemployment Insurance Division. Most of you are familiar with that. People are laid off. We provide benefits temporarily until they can get reemployed, and there's lots of complexity around that. But now I can't say that because we assume there's complexity. I'm learning from you guys, but it's really simple. So there's a lot of simplicity in UI. And then the third one is Eligibility Services Division. We have some other ones, but I'm going to focus today on Eligibility Services Division. And there's a big reason why we started in eligibility. Let me tell you about what we do there and why we focus. Eligibility really is the gateway for all of our social service programs in the state, almost all of them. So TANF, which used to be the old welfare system. Food stamps, which is assistance for people who are low income to purchase food. Medicaid, people who need health insurance who are low income. Child care assistance. We work with refugees who are being relocated to this state. So we both provide eligibility, determine if they're eligible or not, and then issue benefits. And that is in our eligibility. When I came on board, we had about almost 1,100 employees in that division. And it's an important division for us in terms of state focus, because of our $1.6 billion, about 88% of those are federal funds. Our legislature at the state level, they don't even really pay attention to the federal funds too much. What they focus on is the state funds, the states that are generated by Utah citizens and then are appropriated to our agency. Our Eligibility Services Division has the highest concentration of state funds among any of our programs. It's almost 50, well, it's not quite 50-50, but we have a high proportion of state dollars in our eligibility services. So when our state legislature meets and they want to reduce budgets because of reduced revenues, they always look at eligibility services because that's where the state revenues are. So we knew that we really needed to pay attention to that. I'm doing this in my head. So I'm back on P. So this is the perfect storm, right? Yeah. If I'm off, just pretend like the slide matches what I'm talking about. You guys just humor me for that. The perfect storm. So you can imagine we're counter-cyclical. As the economy goes down, what do you think happens to our caseloads? They go crazy up. They go crazy up. And you'll see in a second how quickly they went. We hit a couple years ago the perfect storm. The recession hit. So, of course, a lot of people who were laid off, a lot of people who all of a sudden lost their job, didn't have any resources, didn't have any money, couldn't find jobs, were coming to our agency. Second, we had just implemented a huge, it's called an electronic resource eligibility product. It's a rules-based IT system. It was fundamentally a different approach of how you collect evidence, what we call information from customers, how we process that information, and kick it out and make a determination. Very different. And then we had reorganized. We had a lot of different things going on across the state, and we had what we do called workload portability. We did a whole bunch of reorganization. It was really effective, but we did all of this because we wanted to think ahead. We had some principles in our agency. We, believe it or not, had a goal of giving money back to the legislature. In government, we know that's rare, but we had a goal of actually saving money and giving money back. We had another goal of meeting all of our customer demands without asking for any more money from the legislature. And we also didn't want to jeopardize quality for our customers. And finally, we didn't want to lay anyone off. We didn't want to work people and become so efficient that they work themselves out of a job. We thought that that would send a bad signal. So we had a lot of pressures on us and some important goals that we wanted to meet. Now you can see our caseload increases. In 2007 or 8, we were about 58,000. It's actually a little less when I first started at the end of 2007. It was about 53,000. You can see this year we'll peak out at about 180,000. That's caseload, so there's multiple people on a case. So we serve almost 420,000 more or less just in eligibility services alone, not including workforce development or UI. So you can see that. At the same time, our next chart, you can see that as our caseloads were going up, we had budget revenue going down because of the recession, right? So of course, state revenues were going down, and we wanted to get ahead of the curve. We knew budgets were going to go down, so we wanted to plan for that and be able to absorb those budget decreases and knowing that our FTEs. I'll come back to this chart later. It's an important chart as we look at results. So we had this goal. We said we want to save in eligibility services just operational budget. That's not including benefits or other areas. At that time, was about, well, $72 million. And we wanted to save about 14%. So we set a specific goal of $9.2 million we wanted to reduce. And we started this, click. Am I not at 9.2? No. Oh, you guys aren't supposed to tell me that. Now I'm at 9.2? See, I told them to pretend that I was talking along, so that's why you guys can really tell me when I'm off. It's OK. I do it all the time. These guys know it. They're used to me. 9.2. So we had a specific goal of saving $9.2 million. And but the question is, how were we going to do that? Because to this point, this should say how, right? How are we going to do this? To this point, we had tried process improvement. We had tried Lean and Six Sigma and had done some great work in reorganizing our agency. In fact, in the reorganization, we had saved about $6.5 million. But we thought, we're probably kind of tapped out. There's not much more we can do. We'd already reduced staff by 10% and felt kind of squeezed. We had tried Lean and Six Sigma, and it felt so random. It felt like these random process improvement initiatives where we weren't seeing throughput. We weren't seeing increased throughput through our system. So we're like, how are we going to do this? Well, this is Viable Vision. Yes? Yes. OK. Kevin and Bob Fox, were they here? Yes. Yes? Yep. Yes. And I had actually read the goal and was really intrigued by it. And we got some training from Bart Penrod on a Jonah course, which we are so not Jonah certified, but got exposed to the tools and thought, you know what, let's try this out. Let's see how this would work in government. We would love to do it. So we brought Viable in, and it was transformative. So I'll talk to you a little bit about what we started to do once we brought them in and started to use the tools. But let me tell you kind of where we were in terms of productivity. This is a person with their hair on fire. OK. Our eligibility workers were under severe pressure. And for me, any change in an organization has to impact at the end of the day how that frontline worker experiences his or her day. If we're just talking about it in theory, but you can't go down to the person on the ground and say, is it making a difference for you? We're fooling ourselves. It was primary for us that our workers felt a difference. So you can look at their day. And we had bad multitasking. In fact, we still do. But it's much better, much, much better. We are out of control multitasking. An individual would apply for benefits, and they would call our workers. And the workers were always behind, so the call wait times would go up. And so instead of processing the work, they were taking phone calls. And instead of getting a full kit and getting all the information we needed from the customer before processing the case, we get a piece, go back into the case. Get a piece, go back into the case. So the customer kept calling us, where's my information? Did you get my information? When are you going to process my case? This horrible cycle, and it just went down and down. It was a vicious cycle. Our EREP system, our new IT system, has a workflow module that was pushing work out to our workers, to our employees, pretty randomly, not in a way that would support full kit, not in a way that would diminish bad multitasking, but actually was perpetuating that. So we had some real bad cycles going on. Morale issues, people were frustrated, the caseloads were going up. We knew, but we had that assumption. It's not if we can get better, but it's how can we get better. And that was important. So some numbers. Our time to determination, how many days does it take for us to, by the time somebody applies to make a determination, was 15 days. Our call wait times, 23 minutes. And our cost per determination, which is a measure we created through this process, so we could make sure we had great efficiency regardless of fluctuations in our caseload. And that was $57.66. No? Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I was confusing myself. So those are kind of the benchmarks of where we were. So where did we go? The first thing we did with staff was create a throughput operating strategy. Now, how many in this room are familiar with that? And don't raise your hand, because that will not work. So just like, yes? Are you kind of familiar with the TOS, a throughput operating strategy? Yeah, but many no? No? OK. Because I hear a lot in the TOC world about strategy and tactic trees and things like that that we need to learn about. But this tool was so transformative for our agency. And if I could describe it, and Bob and Kevin, if I'm not saying this correctly, please let me know. But for us, it's a visual depiction of what you'd want to see in a strategy and tactic tree, almost. And it's a one-page visual that penetrates our entire organization. Everyone in this organization can see this, understands, and is trained on it, so they know how they fit into the bigger picture. So you can see the control point, for example, is identified, which is making determinations. Prior to this, we had no control point, which is the first problem. And the second problem, we are acting as if our control point was a part of our system we didn't want to have our control point be. So it was really important that we really got clarity on what we were trying to do, what was our goal, what was our throughput. And this throughput operating strategy really helped clarify that. We went through bunches of iterations and changes and tweaks and language until we could get to this. And developing this, we took it to the frontline staff. We at the senior management level put it together, not just in isolation. We've been talking to staff, hearing the challenges, seeing the numbers, understanding what the TOC principles were in terms of drum buffer rope and buffering your constraint and identifying your control point and all that stuff. We developed this, and we would take it to the front line and say, does this work for you guys? What is this? Does this seem real for you guys? And we got buy-in all up and down the organization, which was so important for us as we were moving through it. We used tools like interference diagrams, which is my new favorite thing in the world, next to chocolate, interference diagrams. And we were able to identify clearly where we saw a lot of our multitasking happening, the distractions from what blue light is, which probably a lot of you guys know that story. And it was really important. We used these distractions, these interferences, to help what we call our key levers, which would be our key strategies or tactics you'd see in a strategy and tactic tree. And that was integrated in our TOS, our throughput operating strategy. So we wanted to do things like reduce training, the verification cycle, incomplete applications, all of those things wrapped up into, we need to create a full kit, for example. So all the elements you would see in the principles of a TOC model, we saw those, the opposite of those showing up in our interference diagram, and then use those to create the key things we needed to focus on and improve to really expedite throughput through our system. So that was really important for us. We did, let me talk to you a little bit about the process. This is the roadmap, right? It didn't click? Did it? Roadmap. We try to be very conscientious about how do you take an organization, you guys, some of you guys out there have organizations much larger than ours, but in eligibility at the time we had, close to 1,000 employees. How do you get them to buy into this? And how do you get them not just to buy in, but for sustained implementation? So that the choices they make every day are really lining up and supporting our throughput operating strategy, our control point, and our ultimate throughput or goal. So we did the typical things. We identified our constraint, we exploited it, subordinated, maximized. Still doing that, right? We're still in the process of doing that. We used the TOS as a way to engage staff at all levels for their feedback. Bart and Bob and Kevin came out and trained all of our staff, senior management team, supervisors, managers, frontline folks. So everyone understood the basic principles on why we were doing what we were doing. That was important for us for a couple of reasons. In government, I'm an appointed position, right? I'm appointed by the governor. People like me come and go. I am indispensable. So folks are used to people like me coming in and coming out, right? This is the little newest fad for the day. This will pass. We wanted them not just to do it because they had to do it. What's the great quote I read the other day from Paradise Lost by Milton? It was so great. It said, I'm going to quote this wrong, but he who hath overcome by force hath overcome only half his foe. I love that. We didn't want this to be a top-down, you have to thing. We wanted folks to understand the principles and the logic and to trust their intuition that this would make sense for them, that this is going to improve their life, that if they did this and they used the principles and worked with us and provided feedback, their day-to-day life would be better. And that was important for us, not just getting their throughput, but because we care about our employees. And it was important for us that they had a good experience with this. So we did a lot of work with them. We had our throughput rounds, which I think is probably, is that kind of common in this community? Throughput rounds? I need auditory feedback. Yeah. Yes, pretty common, no? So our throughput rounds were essentially ways of every week communicating, having the frontline folks look at the TOS, the throughput operating strategy, the one-page description of our strategy and our goal, and say, this is what we need to do on the ground level to hit our targets. And we'll talk in a little bit about our key measures. But this is what we need to do to reduce bad multitasking, to improve our quality. Here's what we need to do to remove the distractions that are interfering from us being able to make a good quality determination. And they meet every week with their supervisors to do this. The supervisors report to the managers report to our core team, and then every week we discuss what are the issues, what are the problems, what's working, not working. And the great news about that are staff, because this is high level, our TOS is high level, but what that means for them on the ground, they're coming up with great ideas in their day-to-day work of how they can manage their daily workflow, how they can hold their meetings, or they're having too many meetings, what they can do on the ground to support this. Now, the challenge for us is going to be is sustainability, right? It's really easy to launch an initiative, train the people, and then walk away from it and assume it's okay. The biggest challenge for me in this, and Kevin and Bob and all of you guys are great reminders to me, is management what? Management focus. It's easy. I feel so distracted in so many areas. And to stay focused on this, because I cannot expect staff to do something I myself am not willing to invest time and energy into. And so that's an important sustainability, that we create a culture around this. It isn't just a one-time fad for the day, but it becomes a cultural part of it. We're even talking about leadership academies and lots of things that you guys are probably already doing that we're learning from, that we can hope to instill this even more in our system. What else did I miss on this, guys? I got it? OK. I have to go through my mind. TIR, roadmap. A, additional tools. Thinking processes. Yeah, see? You guys got it. They got it. Additional thinking processes. So we do, we're learning other things around cloud. Love the cloud. I don't think there's a problem out there you can't solve. It may look different. It may not be what you expected. I love the cloud. So the things like the cloud, root cause analysis, current reality tree. We're going to actually be doing a current reality tree on some of our policies. We have some errors and some stuff called income verification. It's random. I'm confident there's a root cause to this that's generating so many of these problems. In the past, we would have just done these random initiatives, typical government, right? Just launch an initiative and think that's going to fix it. Now once you see TOC, you're like, you can't think any other way. So we'll be using a lot of these tools, and we'll continue to use those. And hopefully we'll become smarter and better by associating with people like you, so we can get even better with these tools. But we're really excited about them. Let's talk about results. Yep. OK. So before, we remember we are at 15 days to determination. It took us 15 days by the time somebody applied. Now we're at 11. So that's a pretty big improvement. Now, well, I'm not going to go there. So the next one is call wait time. We are at 23 minutes. We're now at 9. And remember, this is all in an environment where our caseloads increased by 300%. So we had a 300% increase in caseload. So it's not just around reducing costs. We are doing this where typically in government, they would go back to the trough and ask for more money. I think we are one of the only agencies that not only didn't ask for money, we gave money back. And this year we'll do it the same thing. Then you can also look at our cost per determination. We've gone down to $50.84. Our target is really a little bit less than that, but we're getting close, and we're making manageable progress. We meet every week as a management team, and we have what's called a throughput dashboard. It's a one-pager that articulates the key things around backlog, call wait time, cost per determination, quality issues, things like that, so we can stay very focused on where we are and track it across the board. Again, a tool I'm sure all of you guys do all of the time. Is this real life savings?
Yes.
Yeah. So today, our goal initially was $9.2 million, as you recall. And we've been just starting this in earnest, like we got it all laid out. In earnest, we started this in January. So what is that? January, February, March, April, May, June. $6 million. So we're only $3.2 million short of our goal. And that's $1 million a month. I was telling these guys, I'm like, dude, can you imagine if we could continue that forever? $1 million a month savings? What's interesting about this is when we first started this journey, again, we had reorganized, the typical government thing, right? You reorganize, you consolidate, you centralize, you decentralize. That whole thing that happens in government. Government talks all the time about coordination and integration, and it's all window dressing. Nothing at the end really happens. We thought we were maxed out. Then we did this, and we said stretch goal, 142 staff reduction through planned attrition, no layoffs, $9.2 million with increased quality and reduced backlog. That's a stretch. We're now almost to that. We're down 90 FTEs. It was a target of 142. And we're like, we got way more to do. There's way more improvements we can do. So we thought we'd be stretched at this. And we're going to, after I think we hit this target, create a whole new stretch goal in terms of quality and cost reductions for the taxpayer. What's this one?
Cool.
Oh, I love this one. This is my favorite chart. Even though I don't see it, it sounds awesome. Because I'll tell you why this one works. Because when we go to the legislature, we want them off our back. We show them this, and it tends to resonate. You can see this is what we showed you guys originally. Our caseload's going up, right? Our FTE is going down. So when we started this journey a few years ago, we had about 1,100 employees. When we hit our target, which we're only about 52 short from, we'll be at 844. So that's a pretty drastic decrease in staffing in this kind of environment. Our operational budget was at around 80 million. It will be at 62 million this year, again with caseload increases. And we expect those numbers to continue to fall. And our mantra is to provide excellent deliverables and return on investment for our taxpayers, because they're ones funding the services, and we need to be good stewards of that. So those are our real life savings. Our employees. This is a great part of it. And I was going to read quotes and stuff, because we can talk about all those hard numbers, and those are great things to talk about. But what is so critical for us, and I talked about it earlier, is that our employees feel a difference in their day-to-day life. It's not that I'm just seeing it on a spreadsheet, or we're not just talking about it, but our employees are experiencing that. And that's a very qualitative thing. I understand that. But that is something intuitively we need to validate the numbers we're seeing. Because sometimes in management, you can get filtered, you can be in an ivory tower, and what you see and what the employees are telling you are two different things. I feel harmony, or what's it called, WA? WA? I feel we're seeing WA in terms of our numbers are lining up what our people are talking about. Our staff, their backlogs are down. They used to be coming in, and they'd be 2 weeks behind. They'd be coming into this pile of work. They'd be on the phones and then processing, and back on the phones, and angry customers, and vicious cycles. And they're now saying, wow, my workday is manageable. I can kind of control what I'm doing. I understand where I fit in. I'm not having the backlogs. I don't have angry customers. It's really made a big difference in how they do their work. We still have a lot of work to do to train them. We did the first level of training on basic principles of drum buffer rope, constraint, bottlenecks. The next level is to start exposing them to the tools of thinking and the trees and the clouds and all of those logical tools that you guys are so proficient at, to start integrating that into our culture. We were talking the other day, our goal is if we die or get hit by a truck tomorrow, that this is part of the culture. It is not dependent on our presence, but this is just how we do business. The good news about this, it's been so successful that the governor's asked us to take this to other parts of the state and other parts of state agencies. So we're actually rolling that out in the next little bit so that other agencies can start to be held accountable, quite frankly, for how we provide services to our customers and to the taxpayer. I want to end just with one story. This is what's next. A lot is what's next. We talked about training our staff. We've done a throughput operating strategy on our workforce development side. That's a little trickier, right? Workforce development is about understanding employers' needs and making sure they get a skilled workforce. Applying TOC in that environment is interesting. We do have a TOS and went through tons of iterations. We have something we feel very confident about. And we're starting to work the key levers. Those key strategies that we think if we do well will increase our throughput, manage our constraint, and help us meet our goal and our target. So those are really important things for us. And we're going to learn as we go. I mean, we want to get certified in the fundamentals course. I was telling Carol, we have lots to do. And I want to just leave you with one really great story. And I was really touched today about hearing a lot about Dr. Goldratt's life. Obviously, I did not know him, but many of you did. And the legacy he left and what's next. And for us, when we move into this journey, a lot of it's the unknown for us. And you guys have heard this story. But I was doing a boot camp for the blind, I called it, when I was just in my 20s, and it was pretty hardcore class, like 4 months. You had to wear sleep shades. To graduate, they'd put you in a van with sleep shades with music going. They'd drive you around, drop you off, and you had to get back to where you started, and you could only ask one question. It's like, if you could survive that, I mean, when my kids complain, I'm like, really? Suck it up, okay? So anyway, it was really kind of an intense program, and I remember I was new into it, maybe a month. And it was in a park across the street from where the training was. And this park had paths that just winded every which way. And I could not find my way out of this park. I'm like, I might as well just like set up shop and sleep here for the night. I can't find my way out of it. So I just stopped because it seemed like everywhere I would go, I was hitting a dead end. And I didn't know it at the time, but my orientation and mobility instructor came up from behind me. I didn't know he was with me. Sometimes they just let you go, hope you come back. He was actually watching me, and he came up to me and said, Kristen, you've got to learn to walk through your confusion, or walk through your fear, or walk through the unknown, because you're never going to get any more information until you take a step into the unknown. And that's been so powerful for me in my life, especially organizationally, as we go into uncharted waters and areas we're not sure how to apply this to government, and areas where we think, gosh, can you do this? And the belief that the cloud, that there are always solutions, and sometimes the best solutions are when we take a step into the unknown, and that's where possibility resides. So I appreciate so much the opportunity to be here today and all of the amazing lessons we've learned from you guys in the last few days, and we hope we can continue to learn for such an amazing group like you guys. Thanks so much.